What I want to bring your awareness to is, instead of looking at your nutrition and your fitness and your well-being in terms of how much you're moving and what you're actually eating or how much you're burning, I actually want to bring your attention to what's happening in the nervous system. Your nervous system decides your hormones. It decides the state of your gut health. It decides your thoughts. It decides your emotions. It decides your behavior, and it dictates your metabolism. It decides whether you're going to be storing fat or you're going to be releasing fat. Your sensor is your emotion. You know which nervous system state you're in based on the thoughts and the emotion, based on the quality of your thoughts and your emotions. Welcome back, friends. I'm your host, Sherry Shaban, and with each episode, I am honored to be your coach and guide in the journey to make peace with food, fall in love with fitness, and ultimately yourself. My intention in each episode is to help you release the old story of who you are and step into the one you're always meant to be. We'll challenge conventional diet and fitness culture and understand the importance of tuning out all the shoulds they tell us to do and tuning into our own inner wisdom instead. What you focus on, you create more of. Through these conversations, you'll shift your focus from what you're supposed to be doing to who you want to be, so that health and fitness and ease around food is not just what you do, but who you are. And if you find that this conversation resonates with you today, then I want to invite you to join our free Make Peace with Food Facebook community at myfoodfreedomlifestyle.com, where you can connect with me and my team directly and access all the free trainings and resources we have for you so you can regulate your nervous system and make peace with food. And then also remember to share this episode with someone who you think needs to hear this today. The links are in the show notes. How do life's challenges trigger emotional eating? And what practical strategies can help you break the cycle for lasting change? Welcome back. And if you're new here on the podcast, then welcome, because today we have an insightful discussion that we're just about to get into on why life's challenges often get in the way of your nutrition goals. And I'm going to be talking about how things like illness or injury or even stressful work or life situations can trigger those unwanted eating habits. We're going to explore the actual science behind why you reach for comfort foods and why your cravings are so specific when life feels overwhelming. I'm also going to explain how your emotions affect what you eat and what you crave. And when you're in protection mode, during those stressful times, your body slows down your metabolism, and it can even cause unexpected weight gain because your body is just trying to keep you alive. It's its way of showing you, I love you and I'm trying to keep you safe. And so by understanding how factors like lack of sleep or high stress amplify these cravings and drive you further into protection mode, you're going to start to recognize the patterns behind your eating choices, and most importantly, what's going on in your life that is contributing to these eating choices. Plus, I'm going to share a simple 7-step workbook with you that you can grab today to help you manage cravings and shift from what I call a scarcity mindset into one of abundance, so that you feel more relaxed around food and around the things in your life without having that trigger of fear or uncertainty. Today, you're going to learn how to overcome emotional eating by understanding how the nervous system works. You're going to understand the difference between protection mode and safety mode and how to shift your body into a place that feels safe so that it can naturally release any weight it holds on to for protection. And then number 3, you're going to identify triggers and even vulnerability factors that will help you to regulate your emotions. If you're listening to today's episode and you feel like food and dieting and weight and body image has completely taken over your life, has complete power over you, I hope this conversation brings you the comfort and inspiration that you're searching for. And remember, you're not alone. Healing is possible. If you've ever felt like you know exactly what to do, but you just can't bring yourself to do the things that you know to do, then I want to invite you to join me during my 3-day Break the Cycle Masterclass, where I'm going to be talking about how to overcome binge eating and emotional eating and how to regulate your nervous system so that you're no longer engaging in these unwanted eating behaviors. And this isn't a 3-day masterclass on weight loss, by the way. This is a 3-day masterclass on understanding how to break free from the cycle that's resulting in the side effect of weight gain. And that's the big difference, because you know this by now, that repeating the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, is called insanity. You know that dieting doesn't work. You know that it's not about hard discipline and getting yourself to be on another plan or hiring a nutritionist to tell you what to eat. You know all the things. Heck, I bet you can even write a book on all the things. But what you do want to uncover is, why is it that you continue to sabotage? Why does it feel like you're always on the wagon or off the wagon? And that's exactly why I'd love for you to join me during this 3-day Break the Cycle Masterclass that I'm giving completely free. Now you can register at sherryshaban.com/break the cycle. Again, sherryshaban.com/break the cycle. Again, it's completely free to join. And the goal during these 3 days together is to uncover why it is that you continue to engage in unwanted eating behaviors, even though you know exactly what to do. sherryshaban.com/break the cycle. All right, now let's get into it.
Do you ever notice how much you get derailed when you're going through certain life circumstances? For example, like when you're really, really sick, or when you get injured, or when maybe somebody's ill at the hospital, or maybe it's even tax season or end of month at work. Do you ever notice that during those periods of time, that's actually when you tend to derail the most? That's when you tend to pull out the sugar, or notice you have so many cravings and you're feeling a little bit more out of control around food. And it's like these moments come up where suddenly you feel like you're just throwing in the towel, like you just feel defeated. And it's so hard to stay committed and consistent with your self-care rituals. Now, this is something that I want you to take note of, because I've been talking to you over these last days and over these last conversations about the 7 steps to help you end emotional eating, binge eating, nighttime snacking, mindless eating, any type of eating behavior that is sabotaging your efforts. And I've been talking to you about how a lot of different things that you may be doing, such as restricting or skipping a meal to make up for it, or maybe even having these lists of good foods and bad foods, is actually triggering your nervous system to turn on that binge response, because you're triggering what I call protection mode, and it's getting you to eat more. It's actually responsible for all those cravings that you're experiencing. It's responsible for you feeling a little bit out of control or out of integrity with your food, which really means that you know what to do. You're just not doing the thing that you know to do. And so I have for you this ebook, this workbook that I put together to walk you through these 7 steps to calm the cravings. And then I've got a little section for you to self-reflect. And then I've got a bunch of power habits for you to start incorporating so that you look at your self-care in a very, very different way. And I'm doing this all, more importantly, through a different lens. And this lens is through the lens of understanding the nervous system. And the part of the nervous system that I talk about is the autonomic nervous system. And let's not geek out too much. I will simple it down. And I've coined these terms, protection mode and safety mode, which, by the way, if you hear anywhere else, I'm telling you, they've come from here, from these conversations. I've actually started to see a lot of other coaches and people using these terms. But to bring it back down to it really being simple and basic, protection mode is when your body is going to do anything it possibly can to protect you, to ensure survival. And it does this through several ways. If it starts to feel unsafe, if it starts to feel that it is threatened in its environment, if it starts to feel that there is a potential threat, either through real or through imagined or perceived threat, in other terms, your thoughts, your emotions are making your body feel unsafe, these negative self-talks that you have, these maybe feeling that the world is doomed and the economy is going to crash and things are going to happen that are going to be out of your control. All of these thoughts, all these emotions trigger you into protection mode. And when you're in protection mode, to ensure your survival, your body is going to slow down metabolism. It's going to make sure that whatever stored energy you have can last longer. And that's why sometimes you'll see that no matter what your efforts are, if you're in protection mode, no matter what your efforts are, if suddenly you're running or you hire a trainer or you're in a caloric deficit, it's just not working. It's like your body is so stubborn. It is resisting you because it actually is. It's actually adding a lot more stress to the body, and it does not want to go down this path where it could potentially perish. So when you're in protection mode, ironically, your body's lovingly trying to keep you alive longer. Now, it's not really what you want, because if you're trying to release weight, if you are trying to transform your body's not cooperating. It's working against you. And so what I want to bring your awareness to is, instead of looking at your nutrition and your fitness and your well-being in terms of how much you're moving and what you're actually eating or how much you're burning, I actually want to bring your attention to what's happening in the nervous system. Your nervous system decides your hormones. It decides the state of your gut health. It decides your thoughts. It decides your emotions. It decides your behavior, and it dictates your metabolism. It decides whether you're going to be storing fat or you're going to be releasing fat. And again, your temperature check, like I've been talking about throughout these conversations, your sensor is your emotion. You know which nervous system state you're in based on the thoughts and the emotions, based on the quality of your thoughts and your emotions. If you're constantly in emotions of stress and anxiety and of worry and of doubt and of shame and of regret and of remorse and of frustration and a lot of berating and negative self-talk, if you're constantly in those emotions, you're in protection mode. And if, on the other hand, you are in emotions of calm and peace and joy and gratitude and acceptance and compassion and love and kindness, you are in safety mode. That's also where you get to be creative. And you can think about it this way: no animal procreates when it's feeling unsafe in its environment, right? And you may have even noticed or have heard, or maybe you've even experienced this yourself, when a couple is trying to conceive and it's a very, very stressful, they don't conceive. And it's not until they decide, all right, well, we'll put an end to that, then suddenly they become pregnant. And so your body works in that way also when it comes to you wanting to release weight or you wanting to transform your body. It is safety that's going to help you release weight. And think about it. When you're feeling safe, your body doesn't need to conserve energy. Your body doesn't need to prepare for survival. Remember what happened in the pandemic? As soon as we heard, oh my goodness, there's going to be no food, there's going to be no resources, suddenly everybody was hoarding. The toilet paper was gone, all of the dry beans were gone from the grocery store, all the canned foods were gone. It's the same thing. We're hoarding. There's worry, there's doubt, there's uncertainty, there's a whole lot of food, and we are hoarding. And so your body does the same thing. And so through this ebook, I'm walking you through 7 steps that are so simple that are going to help you interrupt these patterns. And I'm also sharing with you why. I'm sharing with you why, because if you get why, they're not just these little basic tools that you're just going to use. You're going to understand how they will actually shift your nervous system, how they'll actually bring you from a scarcity mindset into an abundance mindset, how they'll actually make you feel safe in your environment, and how, more importantly, you can actually start to see your body transform through very little effort. Because what happens, do you think, when you're no longer binge eating, emotional eating, nighttime snacking, or finishing off everyone's plate? What do you think is going to happen when you're no longer overeating? Or having all of these intense sweet cravings or salty cravings, or eating the entire bag of chips or the entire pint of ice cream because you just can't help yourself. You just feel like you need to cope with something. What do you think would happen if that behavior stopped? That's right. As a side effect of you no longer having this behavior, you're going to naturally see the weight drop. You don't even have to do anything. And you get to enjoy Friday night pizza like me and like all the people that I work with. because that's really what life's about. It's not really the food that's actually going to result in the weight gain. It's actually how you feel about the food. It's your thoughts and your emotions that are constantly dictating what your body is going to do with the food. If it's going to store it because it feels unsafe, because that food was deemed bad, because you've been skipping meals, because you have a lot of negative self-talk, because you have a lot of fear of weight gain, because you are punishing yourself for how you look or how much you weigh. All of those thoughts and emotions that you are experiencing are going to result in storage and fat storage. Whereas when you feel calm and at peace and you feel certain with your body and you just trust your body and you're accepting of your body and you're joyful, you're going to see that even what your body's going to crave is going to be very different. Your body's going to crave foods that are going to bring it into that same vibration and that same resonance, which again, we will expand on way, way more in the Make Peace with Food program, because you're going to start to understand that your diet is not about trying to balance calories in and calories out. It's going to be about how can I regulate my nervous system through monitoring and becoming aware of my thoughts and emotions. And I shared with you on the previous conversation how you have to learn to recognize your triggers. How sometimes we see that these behaviors are just kind of this thing that we fall into. All of a sudden, after dinner, even though I had a great meal and I was full, I found myself nighttime snacking. There is a trigger there. It's like this movie that's playing out. There's a trigger and there's an emotion. And sometimes the emotion is very intense. It could feel like stress. It could feel like fear. It could even feel like sadness. And sometimes that emotion is very dull and kind of maybe there's some unawareness around that, like loneliness or boredom. But when you learn to identify the triggers, then you're going to be able to interrupt the pattern. And now, in addition to the triggers, the sixth step is to identify your vulnerability factor. What makes you more vulnerable to your triggers? Is it when you have lack of sleep? Do you notice that when you haven't slept well, suddenly that actually amplifies your triggers? You're maybe feeling more emotional than usual. You're feeling a bit more sensitive than usual. Do you notice that when you're ill, that tends to be when you want to sit and eat ice cream? Do you notice that then a lot of emotions of maybe feeling sadness come up compared to if you weren't ill? Do you notice that it's always tax season if you're an accountant? Do you notice that it's when you have these high stress points in your life or around work that you tend to actually be more vulnerable to your triggers? So your trigger is one thing, because your trigger is like that loaded gun that you just pull the trigger on, and you notice that it can be something that continues to repeat. It's a pattern that you notice is constantly repeating, but your vulnerability factor actually facilitates that trigger. It makes it easier for you to pull that trigger. And if you can start to see these things play out, you can have actually a lot more control, a lot more awareness, where, like I shared before, you can actually see this whole thing begin to unravel. You can see how these thoughts were programmed with these emotions, were programmed with these actions based on past life experiences, based on past traumas, based on your perception of life, how you currently see life. And I want you to just sit in that for a moment. Because you could be right now in this very moment, maybe very worried about the state of the world through your lens, through your perception, through what you are downloading, through your diet. And here, the word diet, I'm talking about what you're watching on TV, the media that you're watching, the news that you're always watching. That becomes your reality. Whatever you're feeding into your being is what becomes your diet. Or you may be watching documentaries about how amazing people are with each other, and maybe about blue zones, and maybe about longevity, and maybe about more compassion, and maybe about these amazing projects that are helping people that are maybe more in need. And that gives you a completely different perception of the world. And so we create our perception of the world based on our diet, based on what we're thinking, based on what we're watching, based on what's coming through our five senses, not just what we are consuming through our mouth. And so, again, I want you to grab this little ebook because it's going to walk you through these 7 steps, which are so powerful. If you really want to end this whole dieting cycle, if your life has been a series of diet after diet and weight loss and weight gain and just this roller coaster of on and off and on and off and on the wagon and off the wagon, I want to invite you to maybe try this approach where you're no longer trying to look for that meal plan, that magic bullet that's somewhere out there that you've been searching your whole life. And then instead, bring your awareness and your attention to what's going on in here, because that's really where it's at. What's going on in here is going to decide what you're going to be consuming, what you're going to be attracted to, and ultimately what you're going to be creating. And so I would love to hear from you. How did this resonate with you? Do you notice that there are certain vulnerability factors, that there are certain life moments, like I shared, when you're ill, when you're feeling tired, when you're lacking sleep, when you're injured? Do you notice that these are moments where you tend to completely derail, where you're noticing that you're triggered to more unwanted eating behaviors, or you bring up those old coping mechanisms, old patterns that you had in the past, and notice that they're actually playing out? So let me know below. And let me also know, how is this conversation going for you? Have any of these steps that I've shared with you, have any of them rung a bell so far? Are any of them maybe recognizable to you? Noticing that this is where you need to put more of your attention? I'd love to know. And I'll be back to tell you about the step number 7 pretty soon. See you then.